Hi friends, this is Caitlin and today I'm sharing with you how I turn my digital stamps into scene cards. This definitely isn't the only way to do this process, but I haven't seen a lot of videos out there sharing this and I really wanted to help anyone out who's been wondering or has been hesitating on getting digital stamps. Before we get started though, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button so that way you join our crafty family and you'll be sure to catch all of the fun inspiration that we bring every Friday. I currently create all of my digital scenes on my iPad, and the app that I use is called the Creative Cloud Express. This is an app run by Adobe, and it used to be called SparkPost, but they had a little bit of a rebrand and it functions the same. I've been using it for a couple years now. I absolutely love it. You can see I create all my digital scenes and I also edit and add watermarks to my finished pictures before I post them in this app as well. So what we're going to do is start out by creating a new post, and we're going to do a solid color. I'm going to the sizing and I'm going to change it to inches and set it up as a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this is going to be the size of our standard A2 size card, and it automatically puts up text, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So you can see now we have our normal card base. I'm going to go into my files. And here you can see I have my Sweet November stamps, digital stamp files, all organized, mostly organized anyway. And we're going to go into the Fairwees and we're going to pick little Josies Brella. This is a digital stamp that was released last spring and I never got to use it, but I absolutely love it. And so I decided today was the day. So I am just using my fingers to kind of size this and move this around where I want. Once we have her where we want, we just hit done, and then you can go to add and add a new image from file, and we're going to start layering up those digital files. So I'm going into the flower fairies that were just released. They're scene builders, the flower scene sets, and we're going to grab this tulip. You can see it's actually facing the opposite way to create this drip. So all you have to do is down at the bottom, you can flip your image horizontally or vertically. And this is why I love digital stamps. You can change the scale, you can change the direction of them, you can absolutely customize them any way that you want. I think this is absolutely amazing. It just gives you so much freedom. So you'll see as I build my scene, I work from the front to the back. I have talked to other creators, other design team members for Sweet November, especially, and they said that most of the time they design from the background forward. So definitely give both ways a try. If one way just doesn't feel natural to you, I don't want anyone to think that there's a right or a wrong way. And you can see I'm using that little swivel key there just to make sure my little tulip leaves are kind of at the angle that I want so that they line up with the stem the way that I want. There isn't even like a right way. Like I was saying, you have so much freedom with these kinds of scenes. I really just hope that, you know, seeing someone else do this and seeing how much I fiddle with this scene will help kind of take away any of the fear or intimidation factor. So I just work by adding one image at a time, scaling those down and then kind of moving them around where I want them. The other thing is you can go to that order tab, which is one over from that adjust, one over to the left, and you can change up the order of your stamp, so kind of creating those layers front to back. And the cool thing with this is you can really just keep changing things up and moving things around however you want. If you mess something up, all you have to do is hit it and hit edit and delete. So I went back in to grab a second tulip. I'm making that one a tiny bit smaller because I want it to be further in the background. I also flipped that one horizontally so that way it's, you know, creating a curved arch shape with the other tulip kind of over our little Josie. And you can see there I'm using that order slider just to make sure that that tulip is back behind her little flower umbrella. And like I said, I'm just going to keep going in and adding files to this. So I absolutely love creating these floral scenes where it kind of feels like you're peeking into this magical garden. And so there's kind of flowers creating a frame all the way around the scene. So that is what I'm doing for little Josie today. As far as disclosures go, I want to let you know that I am in absolutely no way associated with Adobe or the Creative Cloud, although if anyone from there ever sees this, definitely hit me up because I love your product. But as being part of the Sweet November design team, I do get access to all of the digital stamp products for free. So I don't want you to be intimidated or overwhelmed by the amount of digital stamp files that I have in that folder. Those I have been accumulating for a couple years, some of them on my own before I was a member of the design team, and some of them since joining. So I also wanted to show you that one of those buttons down at the bottom under that edit tab is the duplicate. And so instead of having to go back into my file to grab those tulip leaves, I just went over to our tulip on the right and duplicated those leaves, and that way I could just shift them on over, flip them horizontally, and add them back in. I find that if you're going to use the same stamped image or digital stamped image a couple times, it definitely helps to flip-flop them horizontally, and that way you have mirror images and it doesn't look like the same image over and over again in your piece. You definitely can. I highly encourage you play with it to figure out however it looks good to you and your eye, but I found for myself that I really like doing that because it just helps to cut down on that feeling of repetition while still having everything look like it relates to each other. So I also grabbed one of those, it's either I think it's a dahlia or a poppy. I absolutely love that flower. That's one of my favorite things to color. I've colored it a couple times in different scenes over the years. And I popped that in the background back there. I wanted it to kind of help finish out that arch. And then the last flower that we're going to add to that upper right hand corner, which I'm making room for right now, is one of the daffodils from the new Flower Fairy set. I just think that it looks so pretty to have all of these flowers kind of standing up and tall. It's a peony, that's what it is. It's from the Peony background scene building set from Sweet November. All of the stamped images I'm using today are from Sweet November, and I will link as many as I can down in that description box below for you. So I'm adding in my daffodil now, kind of tucking him right up at the top, and then we're gonna go to that order slider and literally tuck him right back there. I wanted him to still be in front of that peony. And then I shifted my tulip over and I actually duplicated it and tucked it all the way behind everything so that you couldn't see the bud, but so that we would be giving a stem to that peony. I just thought that it looked kind of weird that the peony was kind of floating up there in space, and so I just used one of the tulips to kind of create a little stem for him. Now I'm going in with those daffodil leaves just to kind of fill in that background. I don't want it to be too busy where it gets distracting, but I definitely want to fill in that space because in a real garden, obviously there would be a ton of greenery and stems and leaves back there. So I want to try to find the balance all the time between that whimsical scene and also a little touch of reality. So I'm going to add another leaf to that background area up in that upper left hand corner just to kind of fill in that space behind that tulip. And I also want to be very transparent with you guys that I did hit a small snag when making this video for you. My goal was to have this be two parts. So one part where we made the scene together, and then the second part where we colored it in, except that I only got the first couple minutes of coloring on camera, and then I took a break, and when I came back, I thought that I hit play or record, and apparently I did not. So I kind of just smushed everything into one section for this video. So we're gonna get a couple minutes of coloring at the end. And you know, maybe in the future I'll do another one of these with a different kind of scene, just as a refresher, or just if you like seeing the process, definitely let me know down in the comments. I love sharing the process of this, and I love the few videos that I've been able to find out there of other people doing this process. So if you want to see more or get more inspiration, definitely let me know. and I will make more for you. So I am taking a couple Gerber daisies and adding them to the bottom. I just love how these kind of fill in that whole frame, and because they are kind of on the flatter side, they really help to take up that space without having to add too many other flowers or layers to that bottom level. So now I'm just kind of adjusting to make sure that you can see Josie, that she's not getting lost in these flowers. And when I start coloring, you'll also see that to help her stand out, I left her in very light shades. That really helps. So I am going to back out into my main gallery and then tap my scene again. Those little 3 dots at the bottom will let us save our image. So I'm going to save that to my camera roll, and then I share that over to my laptop. And again, might not be the best way to do this, but I am going to open that up in a Word document, and I'm going to size it so that it is just a tiny bit smaller than my A2 card panel. And that way I have room to trim it down a little bit. I usually like to have a little border around, and then we are going to go ahead and print out our scene. So the reason that I don't do this step on my iPad is because Word docs on iPads don't let you change the size of things with the ruler. So I have found that it is easier for me, instead of trying to fight with it or use a different application, just to open it on my laptop and do it there. But if you have a workaround or a hint for somebody who might be watching this and isn't sure what to do, definitely leave a comment down below for them too. And if you are looking for more answers, definitely go check down there in case somebody can help us out with that. So now that I have Josie all printed out, I'm going to start coloring her in. And with this, I just kind of went in with my standard Caucasian skin tone colors. So I'm going in with my E04 for my shadow layer, then my E13, E11, and E00. I did do 2 layers of my coloring for her, just because I did, this sounds terrible, but I did blow her up, or like zoom her up. So there is a little more space than normal, and I really wanted to make sure that I had a really nice saturated blend for her, because even though there are so many colors and flowers going on by the end of our scene, I still wanted her to be the main feature. I didn't want her to get lost or her coloring to kind of seem weaker than the flowers, if that makes any sense. So I definitely kept her hair on that lighter kind of medium pale blonde side, and I ended up coloring her dress in some soft creams and then adding a little bit of a floral pattern to the bottom and her sleeves just to tie in with those flowers. But I knew that I was going to be using a lot of really rich kind of jewel tone shades for my flowers, and so I thought by leaving her on the lighter side, it would help to kind of create that contrast and really help to kind of create a spotlight on her in the middle so she wouldn't get lost in the mix. I also wanted to mention that when I went in with my floral colors, I used each color twice on kind of opposite sides of the wheel of flowers I created. So you can see I have yellow in opposite corners, my pink kind of in opposite corners, and those kind of violet-y, periwinkly blues on opposite sides, just to help kind of balance everything out. And then, as I said before, I left that umbrella and Josie nice and light. I also added some glossy accents and a shimmer pen just to create a little bit of added texture to the piece and a little bit of interest. I also am aware that I did not add a sentiment, and to be honest, sometimes when I'm creating the scenes, I just choose not to, and that way I can put whatever sentiment I want on the inside of the card and customize it for whatever I need at the time. So I hope that you are feeling super inspired. I hope that this took a little of the fear or intimidation maybe out of using those digital stamps. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you have an amazing week, and as always, happy crafting.